Plus stuff. I am just hanging out on a nice low-key Sunday, and I thought that I would hop online and we could do a little bit of hobby hanging. So I'm just adjusting my screen here. I got my first Grey Knight model on the table, and so I'm going to start painting here. Painting him, sorry. It is Grandmaster Voldus. So I'm just pulling up on my screen the picture of him, so that when I switch to the downward cam, which it should be on, there we go. Let me adjust the lights here. Oh. This is where we are at with him. So, basically, if you didn't know, with the Grey Knights, my plan, and plan might be, too strong of a word here. Basically, the plan is to try to do them almost individually. Certainly, all the heroes just really take some time, paint the heck out of them, and have them look absolutely superb. So that is my ultimate goal, and yeah, so it'll be cool. So so far I've done the silver. I mean, basically to get the silver, it doesn't show up on the camera here, but basically I did the lead belcher spray, and then with my airbrush I put down the Grey Knight steel, which is the new metal that came out along with the contrast paints, and then just a light little bit of Stormhost silver. And so you can't see it, but if you look at from the bottom up, it's like the lead belcher, the really dark, spray paint version, and then from the top it's nice and shiny and perfect. So that's awesome. Yeah, so we're gonna continue with that, and I just thought, you know what, I got some free time. Let's bang out some painting. So let's see. I got his. Whenever I want to paint a specific character, like a very specific way, I always have the pick for Games Workshop, like the 360 model pick, pulled up. All right. Let's see. Oh, good. Looks like everything's working. Hello from Wales. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, Duckster. Will the knights be gray? They will not. They will be silver, hopefully. Hopefully I can manage to make that one color work. That's awesome. So what are you all painting? I saw Apocalyptic Moth. You said you're painting. What are you all painting? Let's see. What's up, buddy? Been pumping out these live streams. We dig it. Nice. That's good to hear. Well, I was at we'll say out of emotional commission for a little while. Just because I needed a little mental break for myself. But I've been feeling like a lot better. So let me make sure I'm centered on camera. There we go. So yeah, but I'm doing better now. Things are still crazy. The world is on fire still, but everybody just be kind to one another, please, please, please. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing all the etching that's on Voldus's shoulder pads here, and I'll be honest with y'all, I don't really have a topic. I just kind of wanted to hang out with people, because hanging out with folks, it makes painting go by so much faster. Have you all noticed that? Like, Jack from Early Ones, he had mentioned a few times that, like, just chatting with people or playing Total War Warhammer, that kind of stuff, all really seems to help speed painting along. I gotta admit, I think he's right. So, with these guys, going over all the little prayers they have engraved on their shoulder pads, which is funny because now that I remember it, they're very much similar to the Death Watch ones. Because the Death Watch also have, which are like, so these guys are the Demon Hunters. Death Watch are the Alien Hunters. And it's just interesting how they have very similar shoulder pads and junk. Okay, we'll get all of this. Get all the writing out of the way here. So yeah, go ahead and drop in the chat. What are you painting today? Nope, I didn't realize I covered up the chat. Let's see. We got Pano military orders. Sweet. That's awesome. Working on some D&D miniatures from my pile of shame. No shame. Let's see. Working on some Hive Chronos Tyranids. I don't know what Hive Chronos is. Is that what's their shtick? What's the Chronos thing? I'm curious. You know, every faction has its own little unique. You know, they're all a snowflake in some way. But I can't say I've ever really heard of that one. But I do love the naming convention for Tyranid armies. How like they're all like these great beasts of myth. Leviathan, Kronos, all that kind of thing. I love it. Well, Kronos isn't really a myth, but you know what I mean. Let's see. Yoda got 40 plague monks on the table. Mother of God. Good luck to you. Let's see. Bastildon's getting painted. Chaos stuff. Nice. I see a whole bunch of stuff. Dreadlord on Black Dragon. Awesome. Eventually on Space Wolves and Cursor. Okay, right on, right on. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Not much news came out today. That's pretty common. They take Sundays off quite a bit at the community site. But let's see here. We'll do sort of a impromptu Ask Me Anything. I'll put it out there. Friends, do you have any questions that you would like to know about me? Let's try to keep it not even on topic, but just something that can be edifying to people, if you're familiar with the term. Okay. We're going to get in here. We're going to get this little cross thing around his breastplate. I was reading the Codex for the Grey Knights, and I was thinking about the fact that Games Workshop already announced you know, there's going to be a whole new wave of codexes for 9th and that kind of stuff, and that's when you'll be able to get your digital copy with, you know, the new when you buy your codex, whatever. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, do we really need like a whole new line of new codexes like so quickly? And then it occurred to me that first of all, yes. Yes, we do. But also, I guess I just hadn't really caught up to how wildly different the 40k codexes are from Age of Sigmar battle tomes. Now, it's easy to look at them and be like, oh, okay, well, they have the rules for your army, ergo, they're the same. But they're not. I didn't realize that for the longest time, that codexes, like, they don't have painting tutorials, there's no Path to Glory equivalent. They actually lack quite a bit. They really are just rules documents with some art and some lore. But I don't know why I never really put it together. It's like, oh man, I feel like battle tomes are a way bigger like deal. Like they get you into the hobby in a much stronger way. I don't know why this never really occurred to me until today. Like I remember when the Maggotkin came one, because it was Maggotkin and the Demons of Chaos book dropped at the same time. And I remember because they dropped at the same time, it was such a stark difference. I remember thinking, man, AOS is way cooler because of all this. But yeah. Okay, we got some questions pouring in. I can stop rambling. Just sitting down to paint Marvel Crisis Protocol heroes. Nice, that's awesome. What's your favorite video that you've made? Favorite video? It's not a singular video, but more of a series, and that is the Realm Gate Wars one, where my buddy Shu from Really Ones was kind enough to lend me all of his Rumgate War books, because I had them at one point, but I can't remember if I got lost or what happened to them. Or I didn't have the complete set. I wasn't able to get all of them. That's what it was. But he let me borrow his, And yeah, that's my favorite one. I love campaign stuff because it's like it's a story, obviously, because all campaigns are inherently stories, but it's like a moving one. It's always going somewhere, kind of thing. And I just like that a lot. Just a hot sec. I am looking for any other gold places that I'm missing. Okay, inside the hammer. Oh, and the book. Okay. Alright, so we got that. Let's see. Question from Spetia. I've wondered this for a while. If you were hired by Black Library and got to pick a faction to write about, what would it be? Ooh. If I could pick a faction to write about. You know, this might sound lame, but bear with me. I'm really gonna say Cities of Sigmar, because we've had stories where there are humans in cities, but not where they are Cities of Sigmar, right? We're like, this particular region is under threat, and we learn about the people who are in charge of the guard and all this kind of stuff. We don't really like get a sense of any of that, and I'd like to, because I think it's very compelling. So even though it would kind of be like, oh, this could just be like generic fantasy, you know, they could make it very lame if they so chose. But I think that would honestly be a very, very interesting one, at least for me. Let's see. Are the Grey Knight models the new kind or old? I'm not familiar with the faction. They are older, but they're not old. I don't know. I guess they've been around for a couple years now that I think about it. Yeah, they. I mean, I guess they are kind of old now. I mean, the sculpts all still look fantastic. They hold up. They hold up really well. Much better than I would say like the basic Space Marine does, or did. No, it still does. They still technically make them, I think. Do they still make normal Space Marines, or is it they own, like, they literally stopped producing them? I can't recall. Let's see. And then gold in the recesses of this thing. Okay. Alright. That looks about right. Just got the Inquisitor symbol here on the hammer. With the collection that I got, I didn't realize that it was just a random set of models from my buddy. I didn't realize that he gave me all of the named characters from a very specific chapter. And so the second that I figured that out, I was reading the Battle Tome, because I was trying to understand who these characters are in some kind of context. And the second that I figured that out, I was like, oh, absolutely, we're leaning into that theme. So these are going to be the ward makers. What are they called? Yeah, hot sec here. Oops. Sorry, bro. Oh, here we go. Yeah, the ward makers. I was like, oh yeah, I got this guy. Stern is one of the company leader bros. I don't know, good stuff. Let's see. I'm going back up to the questions here. Seems like a lot of books get pumped out for 40K. It's true. Doug, what was your favorite army you painted? When did you feel like you really got it? Like, how to paint something to your liking? I would probably say my Warriors of Chaos. Back when I had those, long before Slaves to Darkness, the book came out. The reason is because I did more layering in that one than I ever did before. And so it taught me a lot about building up white and how to make white transitions, and that's how I'm doing this dude's cape and all the white for the tabards on my boys here, the Grey Knights. It's one of those things that I got done with it, and I was like, I feel like I leveled up a little bit. And now I feel like I can do better, which is ultimately why I sold the army. I was like, oh, you know, if I want to do these again with the new Slaves to Darkness stuff that was coming out, it's like, I know that I can do better, so I wanna. That would probably be the closest I can get or imagine to answering that question. And like every army is a little bit different. The only one that I felt like I never really succeeded at was the Iron Jaws. A lot of people like the blue, but that army broke me a little bit because it just kept not turning out the way I wanted it to when I was starting to paint it. And it was really rough. It was very defeating. When I kept putting color down and it wasn't the right blue, and then like I felt like the tutorials that were in the book, like so they would tell you to use a particular, you know, brand of Citadel paint. Every time I used that paint, I don't remember what blue it was, but it came out so much darker than what they look like in the book, and I was like, no, it doesn't look right. So there was a lot of trial and error on that one. But yeah. So I'm just doing a bunch of purity seals right now. He has them built into his armor. He's got them hanging from his armor. Homeboy is as pure gets, apparently. I don't know, based on all these seals, he's riddled with them. Let's see. And so, from what I understand, Grandmaster Voldus is like the premier wizard of the Grey Knights, which is cool. Or at least, you know, he's one of the preeminent. They're all psychers, which is awesome. Definitely one of the draws to the army. Let's see. Favorite AOS god and demigod. Gorka Morka, because we don't have a model. We don't have a fixed perspective of what this person looks like. All we have are these really elaborate, crazy myths that could simultaneously be true and untrue at the same time, or maybe there's a hint of truth, you know, that kind of thing. I love it. I love the mystery, and I kind of don't want them to ever make a model and ruin it. This idea that he's just this primordial, you know, the spirit of nature's untamed wrath just incarnate, like, oh, that's amazing. That being said, if they ever made a Gorka Morka model, I would absolutely own it. I just, you know, based on the lore they've put out for, like, Gloomspite Gits and Iron Jaws and Bone Splitters, I just don't know how they could make a model that would capture what they've kind of said about it. You know, how crazy and outlandish everything is. Because even if they made it, like, you know, as supremely amazing as, like, the Nagash model, I'd be like, this is the guy who ate 10 mountains and, I don't know, got bitten by a spider, and that's what made the spider Van Grotz. Yeah, he just wouldn't live up to the, I don't know, the hype, the build-up. So, and I could be wrong about that. I just can't picture what he would look like in such a way to honor all of that. Let's see, is that... Yes, okay, this actually is kind of a book thing, so we need to... Okay, give me one sec. I'll hop back in the chat here. give that a sec to dry up because I want to throw a wash on it before I get too much further. So I'll catch up in the chat while this is drying here. Let's see. Your Rumgate Wars made me a fan of the old world. Pull trigger on AOS. Oh, that's so cool, Eric. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's very kind of you. They still make old Space Marines. Okay, cool. They've made one new Baby Marine model in years. Yeah. Spezia, question. Just wondering, the fiance is wanting a Slaves to Darkness centerpiece for her stuff. I'm painting Caradrak or Manticore. Personal opinion, apropos of nothing, the Crackerjack dragon is the best. Manticore, he's fine. He really is. I did. That's what I had, was the Sorcerer on a Manticore. But the Caradrak is just, he's so stinking cool. All of my paint jobs make me feel defeated. That's so funny. Joe says, cool seeing a bunch of people catch the 40k bug. Painting some word bearers for the first time since 5th. Nice, dude. Hang in there. Let's see. Sean Blake, hey, hey. And we got Michael in the chat. Hey, oh, man, this is a reunion of all Doug's friends. I like this. We got... Question, were you all in on AOS from the get-go? That's a good question. No, I actually wasn't. So, the day that AOS launched, I was there at a game store, bought my book, the original Mighty Battles and Unending War, or whatever it is, book. And I just could not get into it, if I'm honest with you. Like, I had a buddy... Screw me, sorry. I had a buddy with me, and he brought ogres. I brought high elves, and the problem day one of AOS. A lot of people will tell you that it's points, and I disagree. I think the problem was they didn't have scenario play as prevalent as possible. You're talking to someone who, like, I had fun and meaningful interactions with friends playing games with no points. So say what you will about it, but I like it. I won't say it's better for sure, but it was fun. But the problem is that if you don't have, like, meaningful scenarios and that are super fun, like, it just falls apart. There's no objective other than just smash the dude across from you. It tends to not be very fun if you can't do the smashing. So we tried a couple games to make it fair and balanced. And at the end of the day, I had the conversation with my buddy, and I was just like, I like the framework that they made in terms of, to hit to wound, and the setting as far as, like, the outrageous fantasy that can have anything. Like, I'm on board with all of that. It's just the game's not ready. Like, it felt like it was just launched before it was quite ready. And so I took a 6-month, I guess, hiatus, you could say, and I was like, this needs to, like, percolate a little bit, and I'll come back to it. And then I did, and I've been on ever since. That's a great question. Because once I came back to the game, that's when, innovations has started happening of, like, hey, here's battle tomes that have some scenarios in them. Like, okay, well, those should have been immediately free to get people playing something. Yeah, stuff like that. So I did play it day one, but I immediately realized, like, this needs a little more time to brew. But I did appreciate how, like, the structure of the game that they made. So there was a lot of potential. And yeah, that's a great question, man. Let's see. I Day one, assembled and played in store. Loved it. Yeah, I had my high elves. My buddy had his ogres. So it took us like a little while to figure out kind of a balanced thing, but ended up being good. I was looking at armies. I was interested in for AOS. I have to ask, am I the only one that thinks there are some of the Seraphon models that are pretty outdated? Oh my gosh, dude, there are entire forums and websites dedicated to telling GW that the Seraphon stuff is outdated. So no, to answer your question, you are not the only one, for sure. All right, so I'm gonna get my washes out here. So we need null oil. What else do we need? Sepia for the purity seals. We need that's the big one, I honestly think. Give me a second, I'm just thinking out loud here. Oh, and something for the cape. Yeah, let's do crimson on the cape. Alright. So I never played fantasy. I come from 40k, so I didn't feel the pain of loss. Yeah, I mean, like, I was 8 months into fantasy battles when AOS happened, so I kind of vaguely knew some of the characters and that kind of thing, but I wasn't emotionally attached. Like, I didn't lose anything because they moved away from the old world. I just was like, oh, okay, so what's next? You know, and then it's funny because I was a new player, and all of the fantasy battle players in the local group were telling me, like, hey, you know, this is how the game works. They release a new edition and it mixes things up, but it's, you know, it's generally pretty good. Well, then I was like, well, why is everybody so mad when this edition dropped? And not me, just in utter ignorance, just not understanding that, like, no, like, this is a fundamental change to the game. Like, this changes everything we were talking about. This isn't the kind of, evolution and addition change that we were talking about earlier. So it was just kind of a weird time for a new person to be like, okay. And then everyone rage quit, and I got a bunch of models for dirt cheap. That was nice. Because winners win. As I often remind my wife, mainly when we're watching, like, nature documentaries, which we do pretty frequently. We just like to just sit and just kind of, like, learn. We watched a nature documentary, and it'd be like, this predator smashes the guy, and it's like, that's because winners win. Let's see. I'm gonna just speed up here just a smidge to catch up with the chat follow-up. Thank you for answering. Since the Kekajek is 50-ish US, and the new starter, is it worth it just to get a new starter? Honestly, if you're gonna be playing Slaves to Darkness, yeah, right. Get some knights, get some basic dude man bros. Like, I will put it this way: if I was going to do Slaves to Darkness, it's hard to pass up on that. Like, that's a pretty sweet deal. And so I'm just adding a little bit of null oil into the lettering here, trying to make it pop. Where else is there? So I'll try all these. Definitely forgot that I had just covered like every inch of the shoulder pads in, in gold. I was like, where is there more gold? Don't mind me, Mr. Dingus. Okay. Okay. There we go. Doug switching to Slaves to Darkness confirmed. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I feel like AOS and 40k are both just unbalanced for slugfest. I am of the persuasion that a perfectly balanced miniatures game with factions that do very different things will never be balanced. But it can be incredibly fun. That is my personal opinion. There are some who argue that, but you know, I mean, you can choose to be disappointed all you want. The second a new army drops, there's new rage and that kind of stuff, and I just don't. I don't buy it. So I've been happier since I stopped expecting. You know, because it's the thing is even Games Workshop. You know, they said in no uncertain terms in their latest videos talking about the new edition for 40k, and this applies to AOS tangentially. It was like, this is the most balanced edition. We've looked at the thing from the ground up. And hearing that, I'm like, okay, but nothing survives contact with oxygen is an old saying, where it's just like, I mean, it's still gonna have problems. And I am down to experience those problems in full. Kind of like when AOS 2.0 first launched, and they didn't really address the fact that like you can spam certain command abilities, where it's just like, we didn't think of that, and you know, like, well, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're fine. Let me see. It's got old man face. I'm just doing some Seraphim Sepia. I love Sepia on gold, and I love it on over like Xandri dust, that kind of like khaki kind of color. Always seems to make things pop really well. What else? What else am I missing? Top of the hammer. Alright, did I miss any purity seals? He's only got 10,000. Actually, I did. I missed the actual, like, complete painting of one of them. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. Just got to go back and get that one with some sepia later on. Sweet. Let me see. Check the chat. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I left my scroller up, so I haven't been seeing it. Question: do you think GW should make a new Grand Alliance? Thinking it would be called like Disorder, be a meld of Deepkin. Oh, yeah, just kind of like outsider people. I'd be down for it. Like, because, I mean, at this point, Grand Alliances, their function is just to give you a pool of different factions that you can, you know, put together. Obviously, they used to be, like, much more important, I feel like, but they're not so much anymore. So, I think new Grand Alliances would be awesome. If they're going to go that far and really look at Grand Alliances, I also want them to make factions that work in multiples of them. You know, like you pointed out Deepkin, right? I mean, they are in the Force of Order in the sense that they really do hate chaos, but at the same time, like, they're not really on board with, like, everything that's going down. Let's see, what do I need? I think I'm good. I think I just need this. So now we're gonna do some thinning out some Nuln Oil. Gotta throw it on the white. So when I do white, I always start off with Celestia Gray. And of course this makes it super blotchy and gross and dirty when you put Nuln Oil, even if it's thinned out on it. But that's okay, we can use that. But it gives me my nice shadows. I can come back later and cover everything up. So basically, yeah, I do a thin layer, a thin wash over Celestia Gray for white, and then I build it back up with Ulthuan Gray and White Scar as an edge highlight. I actually don't paint pure white much. Because then, honestly, even like the whitest clothes that we would wear, you know, like his robes and all that kind of weird stuff, like, I mean, we don't wear, like, how about this? Soldiers don't often wear pure white. You know, unless it's like dress colors, you know. Let's see here. I'm just checking something right quick. Okay, we're good to go. So his hammer has some like pure white on it. We'll get to that later, because yeah, we'll do that later. So I mentioned in an earlier stream, like someone asked, how do you paint models and that kind of stuff, and one of my things that I suggested was you always paint from the furthest in to the out. So I went like the cape in really hard to reach places, and then working my way out slowly. So I'm just looking to see what I need to do next. Let's see. I'm going to look at the chat because I'm waiting on that null oil to dry here. Joseph Z, how you doing? I'm doing good. Excuse me. I'm basically thinking about Magkin of Nurgle, Sylvaneth, Legions of Nagash, Flesh Eater Courts, or Seraphon as a starter army. That's a lot of options. However, since I don't have a job, I have plenty of time to decide. Well, best of luck getting a job for you, buddy. Based on those, if you want to save money, Flesh Eater Courts, because you'll just buy a couple start collecting boxes and turn that into a full army with darn near every option. A second close one to that is Maggotkin, because each individual dude is so expensive that start collecting box has a lot of value in it. Cody says, fun fact, your Stormcast lore videos were what got me into AOS. Aw, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a turning point in the channel when I was like, I felt like I was being too much of a carbon copy of a lot of other content creators, where like you know, I mean, a lot of content creators, this is not shade, so understand that very clearly. Like, they'll go on Wikipedia and then just kind of read off what they see. Nothing wrong with that, because a lot of people prefer audio formats rather than just reading a wiki. But it's not what I wanted to do. And so when I got the chance to do what I wanted to do in terms of having a camera, and I was like, you know what, man? Because that Stormcast video, the one that changed the tide of the channel, was actually one that there was a huge gap in producing videos where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, this is just cumbersome with my time. People were still really hating AOS, and then I was like, I should just do what makes me happy. And it's like, that involves moving further and further away from what the other more established channels are doing, where it's just, you know, where it's just hard facts rather than like putting your own spin on things. Like, nah, man, gotta talk about why these guys are cool. And that's where that started. Let's see. Sorry, give me one sec of either silence or weird heavy breathing because I'm trying to get these fine details. I don't think I've ever put so much work into a book on a mini. Because I don't have a lot of armies. Most of the factions I use don't, they're not the reading type, you know? And I don't think this guy has, oh, he has black on his bolter, that's what it is. Okay. Oh, I don't know if this, I mean, it's old news now, it's like a couple days old, but Necromunda Hive Warfare, the video game version of Necromunda, went up on pre-order, and I definitely jumped in right away. I don't really like doing pre-orders, to be honest with you. Like, in general, with most games, particularly like with, you know, when it comes to like Bethesda or some other ones, EA, those kinds of things. Like, I try to avoid doing it, but I know they're a slightly smaller studio, and so it's like, if you guys can just take this and come out with a great game, you know, whatever. I'll lose a couple bucks if it's not great, that's fine. But I'm so dang excited for it. Let's see. The second I'm done with this particular section, I'll go back to the chat. I apologize. It's just very fine details. Don't really allow for a lot of talking. That's the only thing I don't like about priming a model, the main color, is that I'm constantly like, oh man, don't get paint anywhere. Like, don't spill it anywhere. Don't get it in because you're gonna mess up the base coat. Okay, there we go. Put that down to dry for a second. I'm gonna hop back in the chat. Let's see. Hey, Memphis. In fairness, Doug didn't do that. GW did, and the reason I say that is because I want to credit GW for the honest work they did to fix the problem that they created. Yep, I think it's fair. It is a fair. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. So, when it comes to Games Workshop and their writing team, they have to write things not there's just a human element of someone like telling you the story in a way, like in different ways, and frankly more common ways of speaking that can really resonate with people much more than book or audio, like strictly audio reading the book format. And so that's what I've always kind of strove to do is just kind of add my own little flair. And but yes, that's why, you know, I very much encourage people to go support the authors and that kind of stuff. And it's absolutely important that we do. If we like the books, you gotta read them. Let's see. Any news on any new books aside from Cow Elves and the Sons of Behemoth? Not that I know of. I actually don't keep up to date very much with book releases. It might surprise most of you that I'm not really a reader. I'm what you might call an orator. So I'm like old man when it comes to news. I'm always out of the loop. Dreadslayer. Hey, I'm pretty sure I want to start Magkin of Nurgle. I always liked the theme, and I love the lore videos you did of them. Just an indecisive person. That's okay. GW encourages indecisiveness because it usually means sales from people like me. Hair on my brush. I can always tell when my cat's been on my hobby bench because little fin hairs everywhere. He's a butt. But I love him. Let's see. The problem with the Necromunda video game is that they didn't show any in-game footage, no mechanics, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Honestly, it's the same company who made Mordheim, and if they just carbon copied the graphics, style, and complexity of that game from 2005, I would still be happy. Because I am easy to please, and I liked that game so stinking much. That's why I wasn't really worried about it. And I didn't even realize that there wasn't gameplay footage in it until someone, a buddy of mine, pointed it out to me, and I was like, huh. I don't know. It just went right over my head. Let's see. Thought I saw a question. Cheeky Giraffe. Doug, any advice for new painters? Tons. Go annoy the hell out of your local store owner for painting advice, and at least they can point you in the direction of someone who knows what they're doing. And just ask a million questions. What I would say is don't be afraid. Let me put this in order. 1, always use test models. So test on one dude, like I'm doing Voldus here before I do a whole squad or anything like that. Test on one model, and then don't be afraid to try new things, of course, using a test model. It's probably the biggest one. I think that's super important. For me personally, big painting tips. Work from the inside outside, which I've talked about before, where, so like if you look at this guy's cape, it's the hardest to reach place because you gotta like finagle it. Now imagine if I had done this in a different order to where I painted all this nice stuff, nice and pretty, and then I tried to go in and get that cape, I might get red everywhere. So I might mess up stuff. But if you paint from the furthest inside outward, you're covering up any mistakes as you work towards the outer parts of the model. So that's definitely an important one. Other tips. Don't go crazy and buy different paints. Like a bajillion. Like the Games Workshop site has like, oh, you want to paint purple? Here's 50 kinds of purple and washes to be able to paint this kind of purple. Ignore it. Just go ahead and get yourself some basic colors and some wash and some crap brushes from Hobby, and you're all set. That's Doug's opinion. Thin your colors. Oh, that was a great one. Yeah. So if you've noticed, every time I put colors on here, I go over to my little water pot, take out a little bit of water, and swirl it in to thin it down just a smidge. And that's so you don't lose detail. Because otherwise these paints are so thick they would clog it up. You wouldn't be able to see the lettering all that stuff. So, yeah. Great job, team. What's the level of painting? How do I want to word this? I will say that painting for me got a lot easier when I started to learn, and I don't know how to teach it. I only know that I experienced it, where you can start to ignore or emphasize some details. For example, if you have something be a bright color, it draws the eye, whereas if you keep it dark or shadowy or that kind of thing, it tends to get lost. And you can actually use that if you're like, I have no idea how the heck to paint X. Just make it dark. Make something bright around it so it pulls the eye in a different direction. Yeah. Let's see. We got Chaos Lord Craig. Hey, hey. A new Deepkin book would be nice. For sure. Yeah. I'm reading the Court of the Blind King right now. Yeah. Question. Hi, everybody. I'm looking for minis and sceneries for a skirmish Cyberpunk game. Anyone have any recommendations besides Infinity and the GW line? So, skirmish Cyberpunk. Let me think. I have my buddy Ben. He was convincing me, or he's trying real freaking hard to get me into Fallout Wasteland Warfare. It's not cyberpunk, but it is sci-fi. And I hear it has a great rule set. What else? The hard part is the cyberpunk. That's a very specific genre. And Infinity is certainly, I'm going to say, top dog on that. I know that Privateer Press has a game called Warcaster coming out, which you should look up just to see if you like the models. They're very stylistic, we'll say. Some people like them, some people don't. It's whatever. But that's about the best I can think of. What is it about Infinity you don't like? Because they are getting a new edition, so I think the rules are going to be reined in a smidge. And I will be doing a unboxing and review of Code 1, which is kind of like their lighter, get people into the game, I guess, format. Kind of like how Kill Team is to 40k, this Infinity Code 1 is supposed to be towards. Code 1 is into Infinity. I apologize, I'm all over the place today. Read a bunch of messages that were sent to me that kind of got me all razzled today, so it's all good. There we go. Building up the white. Now I'm going to do like a couple layers of this Wolf 1 gray because it's a very translucent color, but it's still kind of chalky, and so if you don't thin it out and do like a bajillion little coats, it'll just clog up whatever you put it on. Okay, so we'll let that dry for a hot sec, and we'll go in for coat number 2. I'm just going to throw this over here in the fan. And I'm going to answer some questions. I'm super late to this. Anyways, super ready for an Emperor's Children Codex and new Dark Elves. Yeah, that would be cool. Want a new Deepkin book? I would like a new Deepkin book as well. I don't play them. I don't want to play them. But I want them to have more options than eels, because I mean, like, they do literally now have options in eels, but you don't see them. I don't know. Actually, as much as I know Doug adores Privateer Press, they did just launch Warcaster, which a lot of people felt looked like a lot in Infinity. Yeah, that was definitely, I wanted to point that out. I don't, I got nothing against Privateer Press. I really don't. I find it very hard to get into their games right now, just because, I don't know, they got lore split up everywhere, and the rules are constantly in beta. I can't keep up. It's one of those things, like I just mentioned, there was some YouTube drama last episode. I was like, I can't keep up with this. And then I was talking about how I can't keep up with Black Library Publishing. This is like, unless you're locked in and you're constantly like on the news cycle, I can't figure out what's going on. That's honestly the biggest problem. And it's a me thing. Totally understand. I just bought that starter set for Code 1, Eugene and Pan O, right? That is correct. Yeah. Blitzkrieg, what do you mean frazzled? Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. It was just someone got on my case for either saying or not saying anything about the riots and that kind of stuff. I don't really want to bring it up on the channel. Not that I want to bring it up on the channel. I want to bring it up in this specific painting chat. How about that? It requires its own space. But yeah. Thank you, Craig. That's very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Buy a start collecting box for an army you like. It's about as good as a fisherman can get. Yeah, for sure. I like both Infinity and GW line of minis, but I'm looking for a Ghost in the Shell style of mini because I have already a rulebook for that ambience. Oh yeah, Reality's Edge. Okay. So you're looking for minis to work with Reality's Edge. You're not looking necessarily for like a complete game company that... Okay, I'm on board now. I don't know. Like, I still don't know, but that makes way more sense that you're looking for something very specific. You asked about like Cyberpunk, and I was like, man, I don't know. The only Cyberpunk thing I knew was that Fantasy Flight card game that they had a while back that they don't do anymore. Okay, so yeah, we do a little bit of Ulthuan Gray, and then we're going to come back over all of that with just an edge highlight of White Scar. Let's see. I have the Citadel Skull Box. Really wish they would have been some other bones. Yeah, I get that. See you later, Brennan. Have a wonderful night, my friend. So for Cyberpunk, I would take Infinity. Oh yeah. So Cyberpunk Vanzar is a fantastic one. Biolox of Skeletons. I feel like I've seen a set. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for here. So yes, you have Infinity is I think honestly the biggest kid on the block. I'm not gonna lie to you, they really really are. Um, but I'm looking up other stuff here online. I'm not seeing a whole lot, if I'm honest with you. But part of it's tough because I've kind of made the joke before. But the reason I don't use third-party models is not because I'm opposed to them anyway. I'm super on board. If you're a company, send them to me. I'll use them. But the reason I don't is because a lot of these smaller manufacturing companies, or at least design companies who then get it manufactured in China, something like that, they really struggle to promote, like in terms of search engine optimization. Like their products are literally hard to find unless you catch their very weirdly specific, Reddit post or something like that. Ben Connor says, could maybe look at Beyond the Gates of Antares. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to Mantic. Let me see our games. Right? But didn't Mantic make that one? Am I just losing my mind? Oh, they made Warpath. Oh, actually, that's another one to check out. Here. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Shinershin. I'll pull it up on my screen here. We'll go on a virtual tour together. So this is Warpath from Mantic Games. They have quite a few things. I'm looking for a cyberpunky thing. The vehicles all look top notch. I'll pull up some basic Dude Man Bros and I'll let you decide. Dang, man. I need to play this game. A whole, mega army for 150? I'm in the wrong dang hobby. Okay, here we go. So not as much detail as GW, but they do fit the role of Cyberpunk pretty well. Here's an enforcer command. I'm just gonna pull them up and then we can go through them one by one. So give me a hot sec. Yeah, okay, so what we got here. Standard humans, no kind of mutation, nothing like that. Everything's very clean. These are cyberpunky. What you can tell is that they do have some nice definition. Like you can see all the angular lines through his armor. Really, really good stuff. This model in particular, I think, actually looks the best. Going back to the unit, I like the helmets for sure. That nice rounded visor on the armor. That's all like a lot of right angles, hard angles, that kind of stuff. What's cool is it's 5 dudes, but if you look here on the bottom, those are like deployable turrets. So I don't know what... like you were playing a game from... Oh my gosh, what's it called? Osprey Publishing, right? The guys who did, that kind of stuff. So if they have turrets, that would definitely be a boon. We'll go over to the next one, which is kind of more of the same. These definitely seem like a step backward in manufacturing than the other ones. So let's see if we can find something else that looks cool. Holy smokes, what is this? What is this chunky guy? Look at that. I guess that's the equivalent of their dreadnought. And they got some speeder bikes and vehicles. Let me get the chat back up here so I can see, but I think that's a pretty darn good start. Yeah, that's the style I'm looking for. Awesome. Glad we could help you out. Yes, so just to reiterate in case anyone is watching later, this is a Warpath from Mantic Games. So yeah. Okay, we'll go back down to the cam. And I will pull... Where's my chat? I got so many stinking windows. Okay, here I am. Okay, I'm I was trying to find the last spot that I looked at something. Connor says, thanks for keeping politics out of the hobby. Yeah, absolutely. Their start collecting box is one of the best. Oh yeah, Ben, Gates of Antares. Yeah, I really thought Mantic made Gates of Antares. Am I just losing my mind? is Warlord. Mantic is Warpath. Ah, I see. Thank you, Memphis. That's... God, their names are similar. Okay. Conflict 47, for sure. I just want to say you're my favorite content creator. Oh, thank you so much. And I tell everyone to check out your channel. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Oh, Million Moser, I see that you just threw a couple bucks in the jar. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. What Dark Age? Melanin looks like ODST. It's true, it did. It did kind of look like ODST. That's awesome. Mantic Sci-Fi has 3 ranges: Warpath, Dead Zone, and Dreadball, which are 40k, Kill Team, and Blood Bowl, respectively. Their minis are interchangeable, but not listed in each line. That's interesting. I gotta stew on that one and figure out why I think they did that. Thanks, Doug. Oh, you're very welcome, my friend. Cody Griffin. So I found some old models that were straight up Roman gladiators. Anyone know good rules for arena matches? Arena matches. Oh my gosh. There's what's the name of the game? Is it Arena Rex? Is that a game name? Is that a name of a game? Can someone confirm that Arena Rex is a thing? I feel like I've heard that. People get into hobbies like this to escape the real world. I try. I opened up a few streams just by saying like, hey, there's a lot of important discussions being had in the world, and I don't want to ignore those, but sometimes we just need a break. And honestly, the reason that I said that, and the reason I've had this stance is I remember when I was a kid, we're going to get personal here, so just bear with me for a hot sec. When I was a kid, I lived in New Jersey. A part of New Jersey that was about 40 minutes away from the World Trade Center when the planes hit. And several of my classmates lost parents who were working there, and I remember distinctly turning on the news one night, and it was Jay Leno, okay? And I don't really care for Jay Leno, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think as a country we were also friggin' numb that we just wanted to feel something. And so he opened up his show by saying, "This is a day of unimaginable tragedy. We're all still reeling. But laughter is a thing that has helped mankind get through tragedy for millennia, and that's what we want to do here. We want to create a place where people can breathe." And that's all I wanted to do. And even as a child, like, not knowing anything about trauma or how that was affecting like the national psyche and all that kind of stuff we think about now, it's just like, man, I needed that break. And so that's what I try to offer people. But, of course, there are times to run and seek rest, and there's times to stand up and speak. And figuring those out, man, it's a tough one. Arena Rex, thank you. Yes, I'm not crazy. I've been around Mantic since they got started. I can tell you about how it's progressed, but not in 200 character limits. Yeah, I'm interested in Mantic. I have reached out to them multiple times to be like, hey, listen, like you guys have some games that are incredibly interesting, and they just never respond to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Really glad I'm not like a customer with like a problem. That'll earn you a bad review, unfortunately. And so now I'm doing is kind of just feathering out some of the white so that it kind of blends a little bit with some of the Ulthuan gray. I don't want to do like what super fancy blending or anything like that, but just a little something to kind of bring the two tones together. Because Ulthuan gray is defiantly not pure white, right? Like it's just not. Okay, there we go. Feel good about that. White's looking great. We're going to move on to the reds. Let's see. Daniel says, yo. Hi, Doug. I'm new to AOS, and I wanted to make a privateer army. I want to make custom bases with planks of wood, and I was wondering if you know the best way I could get a rain effect on the planks. That's an interesting one. So I'm going to assume, because you asked about the rain effects, that you already have the wood plank ones, you know, how to make wood plank bases on lock. I'm going to assume that. As far as rain effects go, I would probably, let's see. So this is my maggotkin bases. And I used a green stuff roller to make them into wood planks. If I was going to make these things look like they're being rained on, the first thing I would do is get some brown that's darker than the wood. So that should influence the color of the wood that you're going to do. Because when you look out the window, if your wooden, patio gets wet, you can tell the difference between dry and wet parts. It gets darker. So I would probably start with a lighter brown than this for sure. I went with a very dark brown. But I would, if you're going to do the rain, I would start with a slightly lighter one and then put puddles of wash or something like that. Let it dry. That way it's darker, which is good. And then there's a few ways you can go on making water effects. There are literally, if you go to like a craft store where they do model trains or anything like that, you can buy, it's just literally called liquid water effects. And you can just put some on there. It's kind of like an acrylic that dries semi-clear, so it still looks wet. And of course, if you put the wet appearing thing over the darkened place, it looks like it is literally wet, right? That would probably be my place to start. The only thing is you have to get everything done with the wood before you ever think about doing, because you can't go back over it. Yeah, that's how I would try to do it. If anyone else has any great suggestions or products you know about, go ahead and leave it in the chat. But yeah. Let's see. Connor Jenkins, however you feel about anything in the Warhammer universe, we're all in the meat grinder. It's exactly right. Yep. Yeah, people, I can't... For the most part, I have to be very careful online. So if you meet me in person, I have a very dark sense of humor. It is... It is the finest of chocolates kind of dark. And I have to be very careful with that, to be honest with you, because online people can not understand that very easily, and I can get myself in trouble where it's like, I don't know. I got that perspective from working in healthcare, specifically geriatrics and that kind of stuff, where you just get new perspective. Which honestly, I am loath to build myself up too much. But the reason that I have folks in the chat saying like, hey, thank you for being positive, is because of those things. Because I had a job where I had to think about death a lot. I used to be the guy at a nursing home who would prepare the bodies for the mortician to come and take them away. So basically it's like skin care on a corpse, that kind of stuff. And it's just like, kind of put stuff in perspective. And I'm just picking out some of the silver that I got a little trigger happy with that wash. And that's honestly like when people, the reason I don't complain about things on the channel, to be super honest, is because if you don't like something, you shouldn't waste a moment of your time trying to convince yourself it's your hobby. If you really don't like GW, that's cool. Like, that's awesome. Whatever, do whatever you want to do, but don't waste a moment of your life being upset about it. It's too dang short. Anyway, that went down a weird rabbit hole just based on dark humor. I just saw a comment that there's a, yeah, you're a military vet, got a dark sense of humor. Absolutely. If my brother had a sense of humor, I bet it would be dark, but avast, he was born without personality. Just getting these little diodes that are apparently strapped to Voltus's head. And cleaning up the Inquisition symbols, because, you know, gotta keep them spiffy. Because it wouldn't be the Imperium if you didn't look fly while you were dispensing the Emperor's justice, you know? This ain't no Imperial Guard where we just show up looking like schlubs. Let's see. Do I play major war games? Can demon models be used for both AOS and 40k? Yes, and you should, and that's why their prices tend to reflect all the places they can be played. Demon models tend to be a little bit more expensive than the others, and that's exactly why. One thing that I can tell you about demons, because I've played some measure of demons in both. At one point, I had a Tzeentch army, and used it for both AOS and 40k. It was a lot of demons. And one thing I can tell you is in 40k, it really, if you want to play demons, it really does help to have at least some of each from the different chaos gods. They're all different. They're part of a whole, kind of. And it might not feel the most thematic because all these demons are supposed to be hating each other, but given enough chaos incursion that's big enough, they'll all work together because they want to destroy and stuff. So there's that. But I really can't overstate, because if you just try playing one of them, like, each one of them brings a fourth of an army to the table, and you need the others to be able to really drive it home. So like Tzeentch in 40k is all about shooting. Shooting and magic. Your basic pink core has there's not a lot of guns in there in the demon's army, so that's super important. But what else? And then Nurgle's about, you know, resilience and toughness and that kind of stuff, mortal wounds to an extent, and so they like to go sit on objectives. Well, your shooter guys, they have guns, but they ain't long range, and so they can't really sit on an objective. They got to keep pressing. And so then your corn guys are melee. Slaanesh is fast to tie down units. So like they just all work together well to, you know, to flesh out an army. It just doesn't feel right all the time to have some of those units fighting each other, or fighting with each other alongside them. There we go. Oh man, this dude man, bro, he's turning out good. What we got to do? We still got to highlight the purity seals with yellow, or I mean yellow with pink. And then I have to do everything on the hammer. And then his face. And then probably some cleanup, because I'll probably have made a mess by the time I finish doing all of that. Oh, and the red. Let's do the red next. Evil Sun Scarlet. There we go. To this date, Grey Knights don't have Primaris units. That is true. And I bought them and built them with that fully in mind. Because also to this day, they have Terminators as troops. And I am what you might call a sucker for that. So we'll see. I'll throw this guy up on Instagram and Facebook here when he's all done. We can all judge Doug's paint scheme very harshly if you wish. Many do, if you try. One of the things I really did enjoy about Nova was meeting all of these famous painters that I've only ever seen online, like Oscar Lars. He's an awesome guy. One of my faves. And, you know, he wins all these crazy awards because he's an amazing painter, and it's just pure art. And then I see him in person, and I was like, what is this, finger painted? I came here to play with models, not like this thing that you gave to your niece. And I'm playing against like the most outrageously well painted Maggotkin army, you know, that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, that was the best part. Just being able to be a live action troll. Got just a little bit of Wild Rider Red. Let's see. Oh, I see. You were answering somebody else. Just, yeah, do they have Primaris? I'm sorry, I get jumped around because I don't realize how much the chat has moved. What made you choose Grey Knights and 40k? Well, for a few reasons. One, you know, I still, to this point, think that 40k is not my main game. And so I wanted something that like I could have a lot of fun. I could put a lot of time and effort into a particular army, but something that wasn't like a huge investment. So like I had my Gene Stealer cult, and I played. I've mentioned this before. I played like a game with my buddy Ben locally. Had an absolute blast of a time, and it got me really excited for 40k and all the changes that were coming. But the thing is, I definitely wanted a more elite army. Like that was very intentional of just like picking a faction that is as elite as I can get it. But also has ways to expand if I choose to in the future. Always leaving that option open. So these guys, because they are Imperium, I could, if I wanted to, go out and get whatever the Primaris half, and I can have those two things because they're Imperium. They can't be in the same detachment, but they can work in the same army, which is frankly good enough for me. Yeah, so that was definitely a part of it. Was just the ease of accessibility of them. And okay, so that's done. Got the red done. We're gonna do his face next. I think live action trolling is just called bullying. Well, either way, it was very fun. Alright, here's the real test. How derpy can Doug make this guy's eyes? I'm doing his beard and mustache right now, but I'll come back to that. Let's see. How long does it take you to paint one human model typically? If I focused on it, like I'm doing with this guy, he's probably more elaborate than some of the other ones. But if we're talking like a Warcry person, like here's a Warcry leader lady, maybe like an hour and a half. But the thing is, that's just for heroes. Most of the time I'm batch painting units. So, question, Matt Ward's Grey Knight Codices, Murdering Sisters of Battle. Thoughts? I don't know anything about that, to be honest with you. Tell me about it, Cody. Explain it some more, and then I'll give you my opinion on it. I play Deathwing, so I don't have Primaris either. Good on you, my friend. What's your favorite AOS faction? Mantic and Nurgle, of course, my boys. Chaboy, Gut Rot. Boom. Working on a couple War Dogs, mini Chaos Knights. What a shift from AOS latest announcements have brought. yeah, no, it's it does feel like they kind of struck a nerve with a lot of AOS players of just like in a good way, like, you know, they hit something on. We're just like, okay, now it seems more fun to get into 40k. For me, the thing that dramatically changed it, or was a game changer for me, was list building. I hate current 40k list building. It is the dumbest thing in the world to me. But that won't be an issue going forward. So that's kind of cool. What else? I know for Jack, the biggest thing for him that was made the game more accessible was just the app, because I didn't realize it until he said that, but like, yeah, the app has been invaluable for me, just like, because I can't keep up, like I said before, with all the news and that kind of stuff. I don't have the capacity for it with my job and my life, and, you know, trying to maintain a happy marriage. But absolutely, like, it's huge to just have information accessible to you so you can learn about the game, and, you know, maybe you understand why certain rules exist because now the X faction, right, X army supersedes them, right, or manipulates them in cool ways. Let's see. Question, who would win? Primaris, Kaldor Drago, or Sigmar himself? Have we... Okay, I'm going to ask this, and you're going to be like, duh, Doug, because everyone's going to have an answer, but I really can't think of it on the fly. Have we ever seen Sigmar personally fight and win? There's like legends of it when it comes to like stuff in the Age of Myth, but I can't recall, because he's just kind of been sitting in his chair gelling like a felon the entire time that we've been in AOS. Has he ever won anything? Because like Kaldor Drago went toe-to-toe with a Demon Primarch and has walked away. Like, that's some pretty, we'll say, distinguished battle honor right there. And I just don't know that Sigmar has done anything half as cool. But I would love to know. My point being that without anyone telling me otherwise, I'm going to go with Kaldor Drago. Because he might not be the leader we need like Sigmar is, but he's the leader we need right now in this battle to kick this dude's butt, and Sigmar doesn't do that. Okay, got those. Feel good. Memphis coming in with the win. You get a gold star, buddy. Recently, no, but he did beat down Catacross. Yes, I remember that one. But he still didn't kill him. He just, I mean, he beat him. You're right. He did beat him, but he put him in a prison. But I don't know. I gotta go with Drago. Um, I demand a close-up shot of the eyes. Let me see if I can. This camera is not the best when it comes to close-up stuff. Most lead armies, Grey Knights. What I would prefer, Custodes. It was a debate between Custodes and Grey Knights, but Shu over the ones he has Custodes, and I was like, I'm not going to tread on your ground, your hallowed ground. So I got these boys instead. And part of it was the elite nature of the army, but also Genestealer Cult, when I had them, they don't have a flyer. And if I'm going to be playing 40k, I'm just going to be... I mean, it is my rule of cool game. So if I want to paint a flyer, I'm going to paint me a flippin' flyer. And part of, just my enjoyment is playing with things. So rather than just having the model and not using it, I wanted an army that had some flyers. And these guys, they have a few different options. Nothing grandiose, but... What I can tell you is this guy probably has the tiniest eyes I've seen on a GW model. My God. Okay. Doug just said, I hate something. Pretty sure it's a sign of the apocalypse. What did I say that I hate? I can't remember now. I just said it. Hey, Memphis, what did I say I hate? I hate. I don't know. Short version. The Grey Knights used the Sisters of Battle as a sacrifice to resist the Taint of Chaos. The Knights spread their blood all over their armor. That is so metal. Okay, I'm going to share a little bit of a secret with you guys. Don't get upset with me if you are a little sensitive here, but, marijuana is legal in the state of Washington, or in my area of Washington anyway. And the other day, I got super high and I was reading the Grey Knights Codex and I was just like, this is the most metal thing ever. I was just loving it. Like, now I understand 40k. Because all those guys who were on drug benders back in the 80s when they made all this freaking lore, it was like they were all just super high because this just sounds amazing. Oh, you said you hate 40k list building. Yes, that's right. I do. Well, because I think it incentivizes... and now they've kind of come out and admitted it. It incentivized the wrong things, where instead of making coherent lists that are lore-friendly and still effective, it just became all about how many battalions you can fit into farm command points and that kind of stuff. And it was really hard as a new person to try to understand, like, okay, so I can build my list X way, but if I then, okay, I could build a base detachment, which is, 3 troops, 2 heroes, and then you can fill out the rest of it, like fast attacks and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, why would you fill out the rest of it? Because if you just took a hero... well, then you could do a whole nother detachment, and then you can get more CP. And that's the part that I just never, got my head around, is just divvying up your list into all these different battalions to maximize command points. So it's just like, Dreadslayer, glad I got you, buddy. I'm new. What is list building? So, yeah, we're playing 40k or Age of Sigmar. They have points associated with them. So Grandmaster Voldus here, this thick boy, he has a points value in the game. And so when you and your opponent go to play a game, you say, we're playing 2,000 points, and that means there are confines and rules to what you can bring to a game. There is a format called open play, where it's just bring whatever models you own. You can do whatever you like, and that can be a ton of fun. If you want to play something a little bit more Balanced in the sense of comparable forces and that kind of stuff. If you play matched play, then it gives you restrictions. So, for example, in Age of Sigmar, you have to have at least one hero. You need to have one guy in charge of your army. You need to have a couple what they call battle line, which is just, your basic soldiers to fill out the ranks, and this way, you're not just taking nothing but the best things. And so on. So what it really is just a way of kind of making succinct forces for you and your opponent to play against. It really helps when it comes to not so much balance in the sense of, this is a competitive, we both have an equal shot of winning, because I just don't think that's really possible. But what it is, it's list building and points and those kinds of things are like a language to where it's like you can go to your opponent and be like, what kind of game do you want to play? I'm going to play a matched game with this many points. Okay, that means it'll take, X amount of time, and I do or I don't have the models to be able to play at that point level. Like all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Hope I just didn't make it even more confusing for you, but whatever. Apocalyptic Moth, is it better to focus on one army at a time or have multiple projects that you're working on? I don't know if I can really answer that. I mean, I know what works for me. For me, in particular, it's finish this project quickly so we can sell it and get to the next one. But I suspect for the average wargamer, they probably stick to one project. My thing is I don't bounce between projects, I bounce between games. Like I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm done with that. I'm gonna go paint some, Wild West Exodus. I'm gonna go paint some, I don't really have any AOS to paint because I really do have everything I want for my Maggotkin done, and no other armies have really caught my eye. But, eventually I'm sure something will. Profile while the GW was de-emphasizing factions in order to promote weird fluffy lists, and didn't think people would use such hardcore crunch lists. Oh yeah, that first year of 8th edition, when GW went to an event to see how people were actually playing their game, right? When GW started coming out of the shell and like really engaging with the community, numerous of their employees had mentioned like, oh, we had no idea that it was going to be used that way. Like they just, they do cool stuff. They make the game as fun and narrative as possible. Also with an eye to having units be, effective and that kind of stuff. They do, but they made it very clear. It's like, oh, this is like a new world. And so I think they've been, over time, really pulling in some of those more prominent tournament winners for help with balancing the game and that kind of stuff. So all in all, pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, I do hate the list building in 40k. How they didn't do the ally system AOS has. Yeah, I don't know. What they've previewed so far for the new edition, I'm definitely all for. We don't have like an immense amount of information, but the stuff we're seeing as far as list building and stuff goes, it all seems very reasonable and on the level. Here we go, Null Oil. Just need to do his mustache and beard right quick. Cool. There we go. God, I wish I had an actual Chaos Lord named Craig. That's awesome. What is it? I posted a it wasn't a meme, it was an actual conversation, and before I get started, it was 100% tongue-in-cheek, so understand that. But someone asked in a 40K group basically, what do you get out of this hobby, right? And that was kind of the question. Like, for me, it's, a sense of creativity and that kind of stuff. And one guy responded with, I use 40K to study military tactics so that one day when the Earth is overrun by aliens, I can come out of my shell and, like, be the liberator of mankind. And it was just, like, so over the top. And it just made me laugh. And the guy's name was Dean. And so I took screenshots of it and threw it on my Instagram. It was just like, I can't wait to be rescued by Dean. Hail, mighty Dean. He's coming. Watch out, aliens. Dean's got you. So, anyway. That is my little random story about funny names for important characters. I'm just doing some edge highlights here for some of the armor bits, just to make sure the gold really pops. There we go. Or the silver really pops, rather. Weird because the way I did the airbrushing with some of this stuff, like some of the areas already look fantastic and like perfect, and other ones just need a little bit more building up. I'm still learning how to airbrush. It's not intuitive for me, but I am enjoying it. I'm at least enjoying learning. But honestly, like, I use painting mainly as a way to de-stress. And, and the big advantage to airbrushing is that it makes things quicker. But it's like, I don't want to be quicker. I want this to take forever because I'm having a blast. I'll get back to the chat here in just a hot sec. Let's see. Sadly, any game system produces tryhards who are just not fun people to play against at all. I don't like seeing people, myself included, losing in the first turn. You see, there's two ways to look at that. For me, I would much rather lose on the first turn than the second. And by that I mean, when I go to an event, if someone is there to win, okay, and they rock up with their, net list, which you shouldn't be ashamed of, but it's just, whatever flavor is really powerful that month or whatever, that cycle, they're going to beat me. The question is, do you beat me fast enough so that I have time to go get a beer? Because, if you're going to beat me, like, I'm like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator when he sets the trap. He's like, come on! Do it! Like, that's me. If you want to win, you're gonna, but just make it quick. I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta scroll Facebook. I'm a very important person. I don't have time to like stroke your ego as you annihilate everything I just spent months painting. My favorite is people who don't really watch my channel, but they know who I am locally. There's a few of those. They're not super into lore, but they understand that. Oh, Doug's a guy in the AOS space or like that, and they beat me, and they feel so proud, like so proud. They're like, oh man, I beat this big old YouTuber. I feel so good. And they just don't even know. It's just like, bro, I talk about losing everything on pretty much any time that I get a chance to tell people that I'm bad at this game. don't, you know, if this gave you enough confidence to go buy that ticket to the Las Vegas Open, I'm going to go ahead and say that you should probably practice some more, bro. Let's see what else we got. What else we got? I'm looking for any points where the light would be hitting, but I'm just not seeing. Give me one second. Spin them around. Do a little twirl. Got to make sure everything looks good. Here we go. So this is actually a prime example. So on the back of his heel here, there was a little dot of red from when I did the cape. That's a perfect example of why you paint inward going outward, because nixing that little dot was so much easier than having to repaint the cape if I go back and that kind of stuff. So just wanted to point that out as someone asked earlier. Let me get these little bolts on the shoulder. He's almost done, and I'm happy with him. I probably shouldn't have used the main character for my army as my test model. In retrospect, that was probably a little dumb, but it's all good. I'm just going to pick out the Inquisition symbol on the hammer. It's really the hammer is the only thing I got left on this boy. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for a hot second while I look up what I need for the hammer color-wise. And I'm going to read some comments. Okay, here we go. Oh, I forgot I had every window in the world pulled up for Mantic stuff. Okay, here we go. Hammer. It's got some black, it's got some silver. Interesting. It's kind of all over the place. Okay. Here's my Black Templar. Are you it? Yes. I actually really like black contrast over silver. It looks great. Let's see. Well, the nature of competitive games is to compete with the intent to win after all. Can't fault people. Nope, not at all. And I don't. That's the thing. I don't fault people for wanting to win. You know, all I ask is that you do it quickly so that I can then go quickly into enjoying how I like to have fun, which is normally my favorite thing to do, I would never throw a game, but I want to lose round one so that then I hang out with my people, you know, the bottom feeders of the tournament track. That's all I ask for. I don't know, Chaos Lord Bob sounds way more intimidating. Dean, the deity of mankind. Dean, much like X, is gonna give it to you. That's my favorite one so far. Someone's got to beat that. Hey, Memphis is on fire this chat, my buddy. He's got like a space of like onyx on his staff, so we're gonna paint that. And we're going to do most of the hammer. It looks like a lot of the hammer. It is a demon hammer. It's just... I don't know. Oh, I see what they did. Okay, I'm doing this wrong. No, it doesn't need to be black. I'm overthinking this. Okay, so that's good. What's next? There's a little bit of blue that's supposed to be on this thing. Oh, the famous Grey Knight tube of power that goes from the hammerhead to the handle. It's the most important part. It's basically the flux capacitor of the Demon Hammer. Let's see. I just found someone selling human skulls from a Citadel skull box for 15 cents a piece. That does not surprise me. Because it was someone who's like, I could do this whole like unboxing and reselling bits thing. It's not hard. And then they realize that nobody wants to buy a skull. Yeah, they beat you in AOS, but do they know where Lustria is? Heyo. You got me. Let's see. Really wish I didn't hate everything I painted, especially since I spent hours on a single dude. Aw, you shouldn't look at it that way. Don't hate it. I'm honestly, and I only do this with folks who I've seen locally, because I need to be able to see the model and its completion and be able to like give real advice. But for the most part, when people say like, I just don't like the way this guy came out, typically those things are very easy to fix. Or it's just like, all you need is a wash and a highlight, and most colors like work. So anyway, don't lose hope. You can do it. Let's see. What game is the box for that you're going to talk about? Sorry, I minimized the tab for a moment. What is the game for that? Dreadslayer, I don't quite understand the question. What game is the box for that you are talking about? I don't quite know what you mean. I'm sorry, buddy. You want to go ahead and clarify that a little bit more? Cody Griffin, first newbie tourney story. My first game of 40k in 8th edition, 25 power level, beginners encouraged. I'm a veteran 40k player, but I entered 8th. Plus my list was 15 TAC Marines, 1 Libby, 1 Captain. My first opponent, 3 Chaos Bikers with Meltas, 1 Lord, 1 Helldrake. Yeah, that's called a 40k bad time. What are we working on? This is the Grey Knight Premier Grandmaster Voldus, the most magical and learned of all Grey Knights, apparently, as I just learned from the lore recently. I'm just waiting for a little bit to dry right there, and then I gotta build up. It turns out there's some like white on his hammer, these wings here. And it looks like the outline of the eye are all white, so almost like they're ivory. So we'll go through, we'll pick that out. There's only so much encouraging for painting that I can do before I'm just literally reciting Bob Ross. So that gets a little bit difficult, but understand that you absolutely can do it. Also remember, you are your own worst critic. No one will ever pick apart your work like you do. Unless your goal is to like work in wargaming painting, which is a very different thing, but honestly, for the most part, most people paint fairly well, no matter how poorly they think of themselves. Forgive the silence. This is just some very fine details here. Do not want to mess them up. And I might have to hop off here soon just because my wife is now on a conference call as well. But we'll see. If the internet's fine, then I'm not going to worry about it too much. Everything looks good. Just triple checking all my details. Let's see. My salamanders are Warp Lightning Green over Chrome. That sounds cool. My custodes are Flesh Terror Red over Silver. Flesh Terror Red over Silver. Oh, that would look rad. Sorry, I had to think about what Flesh Terror Red was for a hot second. As the resident chat, Arctic Fox, Arctic misspelling, high offensive. Let's see. I want to kit bash a bunch of kits to do a Dark Mechanicum. Might hold on to see new rules. Yeah. I refuse to believe that they are not thinking about doing Dark Mechanicum and maybe alongside that, like a Trader Guard with it. I just refuse to believe that it's not crossed their minds after the success of, the Sisters box and, frankly, the age of all of the guard kits. It just seems like it would be silly for them not to even, give us something. They gave us some Chaos Guardsmen with Blackstone Fortress, but they're hard to get a hold of now. No, let's see. Sorry about my wording. I was talking about a starter box, and they were excited about. Oh yeah, the 40k one. Cool. Right on. No, you're good. You're good, buddy. Doug Ross painting a friendly tree over here, a nice bush over there. Yeah. See, my favorite Bob Ross quotes aren't actually about happy little trees. In fact, my favorite Bob Ross quote is that talent is a pursued interest. Anything that you're willing to practice, you can be good at. And I have applied that philosophy to making everything from YouTube videos to my work, my day job work, and that kind of stuff. It's been true. Are you willing to work at it? Yay, nay, whatever. Fine. And the nice thing is when it comes to the hobby, there's no wrong answer, right? Like for me, am I willing to work at becoming a better painter? No, I like my level where I'm at, to be honest with you. I try new things every once in a while. Like I tried the airbrush a little bit, and I'm still getting used to that, but whatever. But I'm happy. I like what I do. Keeps me sane. And it's okay to be like, you know what? I don't need to get better at this. We already live in a world where everyone's kind of judging us judging us by what we can produce. Just welcome to the first world kind of thing. This is a space where nobody grades me. I don't have to care. And there's something so peaceful about that. I could literally pour this pot of Nuln Oil all over this guy and let it dry. And you know what? I don't care. It's just as acceptable of a model as the official GW one, right? Let's see. Old Witch Doctor. Old Witch Doctor, I haven't seen your name on my stream in a while, buddy. How you doing? I feel like it's been a while. Maybe it hasn't. I don't know. But awesome. Yes, painting some sister killers. Yes. Let's see. I'm waiting for this to dry just a smidge. I'm just reading the chat here. I'm interested in converting my Achillean King into an Achillean Queen. I'm interested in making a unique model, especially for my army's leader. Give me tips for converting. I'll be honest with you, not really. I just don't do a lot of it. Like, the best thing I would do is just find a female rider that you like and put her on there. So maybe like the Sorceress on Black Dragon you might look at. She's also an elf, so the proportions would be right. Maybe look at some of the Elven Cavalry. There are some female riders from like the Wood Elf side of things. That would probably be the best thing I could offer you. Blackstone Fortress also introduced Negavolt Cultist. Dude, those guys in Kill Team are incredible. Like, just oppressively good. And I love them. When they first released the rules for Kill Team, I was playing with my buddy Ben, and they are just mean. Sorry for the silence again. Little details. There we go. Almost done with the details. Almost done with this model. Let's see. Doug taking it deep. I try. Well, that's not true. I actually like taking things deep, but I like having meaningful conversations that, I don't know. You know, there's a certain level of depth where no one really argues. Like, if you take it to deep to the point of, like, you're immortal and your time matters, no one really tends to argue that point, seeing as how it's pretty true. It's kind of hard to argue. Whereas anything that's a little bit higher than that can be, you know, debated and turn some people off. But it's just reminding people that they're valuable and people care. Like your Shadow Bashers fluff? Yup. Doing alright, been busy with school. Oh, cool. Oh yeah, Kevin Middleton, you're in the chat. Yeah, Shadow Bashers War Clan are going to some Fire Slayers soon. Nice. Sorry, I was like, that lore's not mine, but I feel like I made that pretty clear. No, he's in the chat. Kevin, how you doing, buddy? So, his face is not perfect. Mainly his left eye, well, right if I'm looking at him. Wish there was more, like you could see more of the whites of it, but it does look pretty darn good. What do we got? Just looking at the one online to see if I'm missing any big details. I actually like taking things deep. Deeper. So this is going to be, I don't usually do blue humor on here, but I will break my own rule for the day. So what I like to do, I have this fun game I do with my wife, my poor, long-suffering, wonderful wife, where I like to make her do like spit takes. So she's just drinking a cup of water and I'll say a joke and then, you know, that kind of thing. And there was one point where I was talking about at work we're digging up part to extend our walkway for people who need wheelchairs and that kind of thing, so we can have multiple people with wheelchairs at the same time. So we're talking about how digging this deep ditch, okay, to get this new expansion built, and I was talking about, yeah, you know, we had to get the post hole digger because we just had to make it deep. And the second I said the word deep, she was taking a sip, and I just went really loud in a public place. And I went, balls deep. And she just like, and so immediately started choking. It's the best parts of being her husband is just, poor woman. That is all. There we go. I'm just going to pick out the tiniest little highlights here of just the uppermost. this skull here. And maybe just the outer part of the wing. The nice thing about the white is it will kind of fade in to match everything else. Doing well, thanks to that comment. I'm terrified of painting faces. Yeah, faces took me a while. To be honest, I don't have a magic, trick for it. It's one of the things that I still struggle with. And it's probably because faces are one of the most inconsistent things in GW models. Partially because, as the physical ability to render detail and as something as small as a face on these models improves, it becomes more clear and more sharp. But, so there's the age of the models that matters, but then also just stuff like they have a whole bunch of different races of aliens and monsters and all this kinds of stuff. And so, it can be really difficult. I don't yet have like a perfect solution for myself. Let's see. Hoping to expand the Shadow Bash's fluff after a few battles. Nice, dude. You should. Absolutely should. It's a cool story. Everyone I've asked seems to really, really enjoy it, or at least the premise, because it is an ongoing thing. One sec. I'm gonna pop this hunk of. Oh man, I went right into the pot. Of course it did. Give me one sec. I'm making a huge mess. Granted, green-skin faces are alright to paint. That's true, and that's part of it, where it's hard to say that faces are good or bad, simply because, like with greenskins, the features tend to be very exaggerated. Huge jaws, big old chin, teeth are usually, like, if they have teeth showing, they're usually, like, way out and bare in the open, so they're easy to pick out with detail, that kind of thing. So orcs are definitely an easier one to paint, but I'm thinking about, like, even humans, I think, are a middle way, because GW's gotten really good about having, like, sharp cheekbones and nose and jawline, that kind of stuff. Whereas something like Eldar, I have always struggled painting elves or Eldar of any kind. I just not good at it. Dig it, Kevin? Create fluff for our armies. Deep fluff. Well, as far as making lore for your armies, one thing I am excited about is the new, what do you call it? Whatever the new campaign system, Crusades for 40k, where they basically take your force and then you evolve them over time, and you are building those stories. And it's like, man, I can't think of a format that sounds better than ongoing evolution of a story arc for your faction. That's just so cool. What else we got left on this guy? So we have the rock he's standing on and the rock his staff is on. And I want it to kind of... it's probably going to end up being a dark brown. So here's the thing. I wanted to have these guys on urban bases. Okay, so they have like the city thing below them. But he is the only character that I have. I don't know if he's the only character in the faction, but the only one that I have where he has the hero rock of justice, where he has his foot on a rock, the tactical rock as they some call it, and a rock under his staff. What color should I make them? Again, I want it, you guys can take a look at the model here. I want it to be something that would make sense. Even if a building blew up, what color would like the rubble be, so to speak? Because that's the one where I'm really struggling. So obviously you can tell that the tiles that he's standing on are like a Carrick stone, kind of like a khaki color. So I'm not sure if I want it to... I don't want it to match, because I want it to look like it's been blown away from that. But I don't know what color to make it. So if y'all can help me, I would really, really appreciate it. Crusade, Path to Glory. But hopefully good. Yeah, you know, it seems like a weird combination of Path to Glory from AOS, but then also the campaign system of Warcry. Because the idea is that you don't seem to need your opponent to be in on it to be able to play it. Which I'm down for. Let's see. Chaos Lord Craig. Yeah. So the groups generally have to change things, especially when it comes to Seraphon. Juan Villarreal. Hey, Doug. Great content. Just a lurker, but enjoy your looking at. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I've got a million Fire Slayer bits. You can have them. Let's see. Black and red. Like, like a molten rock kind of thing. In the picture, it's just gray. I'm like, but I don't want... I don't know. Gray next to a gray knight sounds so dumb. Like, because these guys are silver, and silver is just spicy gray. So why would I have them stand on a gray rock? Yeah, let's start with the... Let's do your idea. The kind of molten-y, you know, like, is there something burned? And then I can do some, like, what do you call it? Stippling of black around, so it's like the molten thing hit the spot around him. It's burning, actively burning all of the places around him. So, okay. We'll do that. I'm going to skip this song because this is... I listened to a... YouTube playlist, and it's just this weird... I don't know what the heck's going on. You know, there's some kinds of music where you swear people just sat in a room and thought, what sounds do humans hate? And you're just like, gosh dang. Alright. You heard it here, folks. Silver is just spicy gray. Oh, that's exactly right. What would gold be? Gold would be spicy yellow, right? Or I suppose kind of a brown. I don't know. Sort of a yellow brownish. But yeah, once you remove the metallicness of it, it is just gray. Let that dry for a hot sec. Let's see. What is general opinion in your local AOS meta about substituting alternate manufacturer models? I dislike the Chaos Marauder sculpt and have been looking at more acceptable models. My understanding, so I don't go to every single event, but the ones that I've gone to, my understanding is that third-party miniatures are just fine, so long as they meet the painting requirements, because we do 3-color minimum, and they have to be very reasonable in representing what they are to avoid confusion. I don't think, at least to my knowledge, no one has like a whole army of third-party stuff. Can't think of a specific person. Most folks are always pretty cool about their conversions. Honestly, most of the reason we have third-party miniatures locally, to my knowledge, is just because they don't want to have the same sculpt over and over again. Like if you have like two, I don't know, Keepers of Secrets, You want one to have, you know, it's your general, it has the artifact, and the other one just to separate who has what very, very clearly, which is cool. I mean, that's, as far as Marauders, you know, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. No one around here does. Those kits, I mean, the second, I'm like 90% sure if you were to go to an event and you line up, like, let's say 40 of your third-party miniature Marauders, and someone goes, what are those supposed to be? You go, Marauders. They're going to go, oh, okay, cool. Because everyone knows that kit, they're derptastic. Let's see. Still needs to dry. I watered down the black a little bit too much. Talking about sounds humans hate. I cannot stand any sort of mouth sounds. So I guess I take it you don't like the ASMR stuff where they get so close to the mic you can hear every single movement of their tongue. I'm assuming you're not super into that. Because it creeps me the hell out. Let's see. Yeah, Marauders are hella old. Yeah. For sure. What do I got next? Let's see. Need me some corn red. I suppose as long as it's 100% clear as to what they're saying. No, see, I hate it. I hate it no matter what. Again, more apocalyptic stuff because Doug said the word hate. You know, everybody take a drink. But I feel like the idea of ASMR stuff is cool. Of just like, hey, there are just some voices, man, that they just get me. You know, they hit me the right way, and I like them. I'm like, okay, I'm on board, super on board with that. But then when I hear some of them talk, I'm like, I've had people come to me and be like, hey, Doug, listen, I listen to your videos every night, but as I fall asleep. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to respond to that, but thank you. Love it. No, it's all flickering. Why is it flickering? Sorry, it just distracted me for a hot sec. But yeah, I get some of the sound stuff, but then when it gets into the more intense, here's just the sound of me like opening a plastic bag. I'm like, I don't know what we're all doing here. That's where my old man starts to show, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what these youths are into. Why is this weird person got her face up to the camera so close? Please do not. Just looked at all the Warcry warbands, and you get so many great sculpts for $50. That is no, this is the wrong paint, man. Yeah, if you want Marauders, the thing is though, is that if Marauders and the other Slaves to Darkness stuff from Warcry wasn't in the same army, I would be so much more reticent to be like, yeah, just play with those things. But because they could be confused for a different unit, that's the only thing. That's the only thing that gives me even just the slightest bit of hesitation with that. Let's see. Now sounds are awful. Some no talking ASMR is good. Oh, I got a whole bunch of votes for 2+ ASMR. Yeah. I promised Doom and Darkness another YouTuber that at one point I would do a ASMR video just for him to help him fall asleep. And I'm still gonna do that. I just don't know, because my thing is like, I want it to be like ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably just gonna sit there and, like, I don't know, tell my life story or read the newspaper or something super boring. Which, I mean, is the whole point if it's to help someone fall asleep. Let's see. I don't do like lava and heat very often, so we'll see how this pans out. I am going to throw everything that we're doing here today up on Instagram if you'd like to check him out afterwards. Instagram's kind of been my favorite refuge on the internet lately, just because of it's just all models. Well, at least my Instagram is. I have trained it such. Okay. 20-minute video of Doug whispering deep. Exactly. Deeper. Deeper. What is it from, what's the show? Arrested Development? When Job is like reading the menu, trying to be sexy about it. He's just like, fried calamari in club sauce. His date is just like losing it. Where is my Kindle Flame? Kindle Flame. Ah. Let's say I have a small group of freebooters, not a full army though. Not sure it ever will be. Hey man, freebooters are awesome just for the bits. My God. Let's see. I have to say, you have my second favorite voice of a miniature painter. It's hard to stand up against the creaminess of that one guy from Tabletop Minions. Oh, Uncle Adam? Yeah. He does. He has a fantastic, not radio voice, but you know what I mean. Like, it kind of just... part of it is, honestly, I do believe he has been aged like a fine wine when it comes to his voice. Because I just feel like people with like deep voices, they just age better. With the exception of Emma Stone. She doesn't have a deep voice, but her voice has gotten more raspy as she grows older, and it's just like, this is just the best. Let's see. I have tons of units, different armies, but no proper army. I was short tension sand, but spelling it would be dumb because I'll be back in my bullshit. Yeah. I resonate definitely with part of that. Obviously I do trade stuff off pretty frequently, but I always try to stick with it long enough to be able to play it. That's always the goal anyway. Doesn't always happen, but always the goal. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just like I don't feel like projects are complete until I've had it on the tabletop or what. I'm not quite sure. Baltimore's voice is pretty good for 40k narration. I've never... Is that a channel name, Baltimore? I've never heard of it. Man can dream, but I don't know. There certainly feels like there's a gap in the range without them. Oh, yeah. The grots and stuff. Yeah, I definitely want them to come back around and add some grot love to the AOS universe. I totally agree with you. You know what, friends? I'm going to call him gonna call him done. I think he's looking pretty good. I'll post pictures up on Instagram here. Okay, since we're doing vocal performances, Doug, what's your best feigned accent? Oh, I ain't doing that. No, 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 no. I'll get myself in trouble. I don't want to, I don't want it to be, history is defined by losers doing stupid things and it changes world events. Like how there was a little punk ass nobody who shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand and started World War One. I don't want to be like, and this YouTuber insulted this like foreign prime minister by trying to impersonate him and began World War III, which we thought was going to happen in January, but actually happened in closer to July after enough simmering and rage. So I feel like that's going to be me. But all that being said, I think I'm actually going to head and hop off here. I reached a good stopping point. We painted this guy pretty much from nothing in this video. I laid down some base colors like for the cape, but honestly everything else we did on stream. And someone was asking about how long it takes to paint a single model. Where are we at? We're at 2 hours and 25 minutes for like a fancy pants model. So yeah, we'll get that. So anyway, thank you friends for joining me. I'll catch you all next time. Probably will be Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. I try to avoid Wednesday so Warhammer Weekly can do their jam. But anyway, I will catch you all. Thank you all so much, and I will catch you next time. See you later.